You're listening to Bitch Said What with Cooper and Sabrina.
In today's episode, we talk about Trisha Paytas' drama with Shane and Jeffery, our romance lives, study YouTube, and how the stars keep fucking with our romance life.
So stick around to laugh at our miserable romance faux pas and get some stale tea. Boop.
Boop, boop.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you today?
Oh, I'm living, I'm surviving, I'm, another day alive.
We love that. We love that idea. I feel that. Just living my life. So excited. Super boring. Just working every day of my existence.
See, I don't have that problem because I'm in between jobs right now.
I love that, which gives you time to have an actual break from everything, though. That's what I love about not working.
Yeah.
Is you just don't have to be anywhere.
But there's also only so much YouTube and Netflix one can watch while staying sane.
Right. Because even with my schedule, I'm way too invested in the YouTube right now. But also Shane Dawson drama. How can I not?
Love that Shane Dawson drama.
Well, I feel like one of the only reasons I still supported Shane or is just oh, whatever, aside from our feelings on cancel culture, was Trisha. So Trisha coming out about everything, I was like, wow, because I had no idea about the
I'm
Vegas
not familiar with
trip.
this drama, so feel free
you
to
haven't heard?
No. So
Okay.
Catch me up.
Okay, so it starts about a year ago. Jeffery invited Trisha on a Vegas trip. And Jeffery was like, all expenses paid. I'll take care of you. You can come with me and my group of people. And Trisha was like, thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. And kind of tags along. She and Jeffery had never spent too much time together, I guess, before that. They were friendly, but not super close. But Trisha was going through a lot, and Jeffery seemed to want to be supportive. So Trisha goes along, has a horrible, horrendous time. From the flight there to being there, she just hated it. She was coming off of an addiction spiral, so she was trying to be sober. And they were really mean to her about her skin and her weight and called her poor, which, if you know anything, Jeffery is super rich or whatever, but Trisha's making money. Trisha's making $1 million a month. Admit she's spending about $2 million a month, which is her own problem, but she is making money, so she is financially secure. And so she left the trip early. Jeffery threw away her Balenciaga sweatshirt she had bought. And she had messaged him and commented and was like, oh, can I get my sweatshirt back? And through the grapevine, she heard that they jokingly threw it in the trash or whatever. But then she ended up getting it a couple months later from a henchman. And so this happens. Trisha tells Shane all about it. And Shane is supposedly tells Trisha that he is on her side and he's going to distance himself from Jeffery. And he feels the same way, that Jeffery is really mean and toxic and but they work together. So what can you do? Jeffery is making Shane all this money. In return, Shane's making Jeffery all this money. And then the cancellation stuff happens, whatever. And Trisha is being canceled left and right for everything. And then so Shane shows Jeffery. Shane goes into hiding. Jeffery continues to do whatever he's doing. And then I don't know what the catalyst was for this to all come up right now, but Jeffery's hairstylist was doing a Instagram live and corroborated everything that happened on Trisha's side. Was she was mad because I double charged her and which he said it as a joke, but also, why are you double charging her and then calling her poor in the same sentence? And then he said very vile things about her skin and about her weight and everything. And for the most part, Trisha has really not said anything about Jeffery in the last couple months, even though they've wanted her to, because on a podcast she does. which is just hilarious. Frenemies with H3. They like were talking about Jeffery, and she was like, oh yeah, I don't know, like we were friends, but like we don't really hang out anymore, and we kind of had a falling out. But she was very like skated around what she was trying to say about what happened with Jeffery. And then this video happens, and she finally opens up about it, and then Shane doesn't say anything to her until after Jeffery makes a like public response. And then Shane was just like, let's just forget all about this. Like, we can move forward. Da, 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 da. But Trisha's like, why aren't you supporting me? Like, we've been friends for so long. And then there's all this other drama Trisha's been in that she's like now believing Shane had a hand in, even though she didn't when it first started. Which was like the Gabby Hanna and herpes drama and whatever. And it was just like, it was wild, man. Like, this just kept going and going. And I was obsessed. I watched all the videos last night, kept getting more videos. Yeah, Ryland said something on his podcast, and Trisha was like, you spent 6 minutes of your podcast saying you love me and you can't believe this fucking happened. And she just like went off about it. She was like, I'm only worth 6 minutes of your podcast. Cool. But they dedicated like an entire episode to talking to Jeffery about the Kanye drama. Which was nothing. It was just like a stupid rumor.
Yeah, that wasn't even like stuff that happened. That's just kind of like, oh, what if Kanye and Jeffery were fucking?
Right. All because he's going through.
Although there were some pretty funny memes around that.
I mean, would have been funny if it was true, I guess, but I don't know. And then, yeah. So for me, like I was saying, I feel like Shane, I don't know, hearing like all the things Trisha was saying, I was like, yeah, that's not really a good friend, because she had been like reflecting on their friendship, and just all of her other YouTube friends came to her shows. Like, she did like a huge show in Anaheim, just right there, and everyone came but Shane. But Shane's like, I'm your best friend, and da 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 da, but won't go to like support her and things. And she was never part of like the bigger group of his friends and kind of stuff like that. Even though she's friends with all of them, she didn't know why she wasn't invited to things. And he would just kind of play it off as his social anxiety, but then he would go and do other things. She's just like, does he really care about me? And I was like,
all good things to think about and evaluate in your life, because
yeah,
you want to have a friend that's, supports you, that's interested in what you're interested in. And I guess the thing that like kind of like was interesting in what you're saying is that like Shane kind of like told her what she wanted to hear. And I wonder if he went and did the same thing with Jeffery, just be like, I'm on your side, you're the one that's in the right, and just kind of like playing both sides.
Maybe. Well, and that was the interesting thing about what Ryland said, because Ryland was like, we had no idea. We didn't know any of this happened. It just felt like drama between two friends. But even then, it's like Trisha's friends with Jeffery, Shane's friends with Jeffery, but then the three of them never really hung out. But Shane would hang out with both of them separately. I guess I would find that weird. I'd be like, I'm friends with them. You're friends with them. Why are the three of us never hanging out?
Yeah.
That would feel weird.
I don't know. I'm kind of over like the Shane Dawson drama.
Same.
It's just like, I'm not really interested in trying to figure out who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Even, maybe there's not a good guy.
Right.
It's just like,
well, and I mean, talking about this trio, like all of them are low-hanging fruit problematic.
Oh, problematic so much. Like, gossip follows them, drama follows them. Like, I don't know.
Well, and that's why I love watching Trisha. And I've watched her for years. I was watching her in like 2012. I stopped when the like Mitt Romney thing. She used to like really support Mitt Romney. And like when she was doing that, I was like, I can't watch this anymore. But then she kind of came back into the zeitgeist as she's like grown and everything. But
see, I think it's odd because I kind of like Mitt Romney now.
Right?
Like, I just find it so refreshing to have a Republican that actually has a spine and that's actually willing to like do the right thing, although
Well,
like they might.
he'll say the right thing, but he doesn't
But he
do
voted
it.
for conviction like last year.
Yeah, that's
So he
great
did the right thing. So like
for that one. But like, there's a lot of other things that have happened that he has not voted. Like, he said he would vote Democrat, like, and then he didn't because he wasn't like there wasn't enough votes. So he was like, no. It was a huge thing just recently with the stimulus package and everything.
okay, well,
It is refreshing though.
I'm
Like,
not saying that he's like my favorite politician
No, I
ever,
know,
but I'm just
I
saying
know.
that, you know, like
Mhm.
he's higher up than a lot of other Republicans.
At least he's trying. He's trying to seem good. I mean, he went to a BML protest, has said Black Lives Matter, like, is better than.
I don't think he spread any like election fraud stuff that I've seen.
No, yeah, he's not on that train at all. So, in terms of middle of the road Republicans, we've got Mitt Romney.
Yeah. I just think it's so funny now that like kind of like Mitch McConnell speaking out against like some of the stuff. And it's like, you know, you're really doing some shady ass shit, even if Mitch McConnell doesn't think what you're doing is okay.
Well, he is minority leader now, so he can't really talk back, you know?
Well, this was like, you know, well, in like the final hours of him being majority leader, like during the electoral college counting, like he gave a speech on how like this is a very dangerous road to go down if like we challenge these things based on baseless claims without evidence. And it's just like, you know, Mitch McConnell like isn't the, you know, most a Puritan and like, you know, ethical. So it's just like if you're doing something that he doesn't approve of, like, you know, you're really down the rabbit hole.
Right. It's like, wow. Well, as I've said so much lately, a broken clock is right 2 times a day.
Yes.
So, thanks, Mitch McConnell.
I'm not going to say thanks, Mitch McConnell.
I say it with irony and laughter, so it's fine.
Yeah.
The bare minimum. Not even the bare minimum.
Anyways, back to like Trisha Payatas. Like I was interested in her kind of like March when the pandemic started, just because like I don't know how I fucking saw it. Probably just like the YouTube algorithm, but I think it was like her on. It's H3 a podcast?
Yes, yeah.
I think it was on that, and like they're talking about her OnlyFans and stuff. So then I kind of was watching some videos of her talking about her OnlyFans. I'm just like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Like I wish I had like the popularity just to like sell nudes online for money.
Well, and she's been doing it for years because she was doing it on Patreon. Shout out Patreon. Follow us.
Patreon. Join our Patreon through the link in the description or show notes.
But one of the things on her is like Patreon is super like it's not for porn, so she couldn't do any like porn on it. And then OnlyFans became like big, and she found out about it and she was able to do that. So now it's just different, but it's so funny. It's
like you said she makes like $1 million a month. Is that from her OnlyFans?
Yeah, I think like at least $1 million a month, and most of that's OnlyFans. Yeah,
that's crazy,
right? But she like got famous wanting that, because even, you know, with the trolling of like Mitt Romney and all of that, like everything she's done is to just like gain popularity and like be famous and whatever that looks like. And now she's actually sorting out her life, ? I don't know, she's still constantly saying things and I'm just no, Trisha.
I'm not gonna claim to be like overly familiar with her, but it also just seems like she's not like the most stable person in the world. Like I think she was like claiming to be like either like schizophrenic or like bipolar, and then like people were calling out because they didn't believe her, and then there's like a lot of drama with that. And it's just like
the multiple personality
that's what it
thing.
was. I just remember it was some like
was really off the wall. The borderline personality disorder, I think she's officially had that diagnosed. and she's like working on that. But it's really, they talk about it a lot on the Frenemies podcast, which I think is super funny, super entertaining, and crazy. Because H3 is her soon-to-be brother-in-law, because she's dating his wife's brother. They just got engaged.
So like brother-in-law squared.
Yeah, brother-in-law squared. Brother-in-law of brother-in-law. And it's really interesting. They've had Dr. Drew on a few times, which, like, whatever you feel about Dr. Drew.
Is that the like handsome doctor YouTuber?
No.
Or like
Dr. Drew is like Loveline, and I think he has an MD though, not a psychiatry degree. Not that an MD can't be psychiatry, but it's internal medicine.
I guess I'm not familiar with him. Looks very fuckable.
He's like nice older man. But he is super supportive of Trisha, and he knows a lot about addiction and things, and that's kind of his lane, is like addiction and famous people addiction is kind of how he got famous. Dr. Drew's Sober House or something. Rehab. I think it was like Rehab with Dr. Drew was a big show he did, Celebrity Rehab. But so yeah, he's super big with Trisha, and they talk about that a lot, and they've gone over it, and it's just interesting insight into her mental health. And you're still like, Trisha, you still say so much problematic things, but she's like, I apologize for most of it. Well, she apologizes for everything she feels she's done that's problematic, but there's more that she does that's problematic.
Oh, well.
But
I think we've dedicated enough time
I know.
to
I'm like, this is so much about Trisha, but
let's move on.
Let's move on.
She got 6 minutes on Ryland's podcast and got 15 on ours.
You're welcome, Trisha. Any day.
You're welcome, Trisha. Anything to make you feel more supported.
But speaking of YouTube, I don't know where I was going to go with that. Oh, okay. So another another rabbit hole of mine on YouTube last night was study with me YouTube videos.
I like Study With Me. I'm actually familiar with it.
Ooh, what a snake.
Like, I haven't done watching those recently, but I think it was probably not this past fall, but fall 2019. I used to put those on when I was studying.
It's so interesting. I've never seen them before. I have no idea how YouTube algorithm was like, you'll like this. And I was like, what is this? So it was like the Pomodoro, which is tomato in Italian. I was so confused because I know that. I
love the Pomodoro technique.
I think we must have talked about it before, because I was like, that seems vaguely familiar, but I can't study like that. I just watched the videos and was like, this is wild. I would fast forward to watch the break time, because the girl who I was looking at, hers was no music with background noise, so it's just 2 hours of watching her study. And then
was it the Thrive person?
I have
Study
no
Thrive
idea. I don't. Okay. Her YouTube wasn't specifically for studying, but she does this often. She had at least 5 of them, which I thought was interesting. But her 5-minute breaks were so entertaining, because it was kind of like, oh, she's talking to you. That's kind of nice, because she would do the timer and she stopped slowly, and it was very calming. I was like, this is calm.
I don't know if they're still out there. Were there any live streams? Did you search for Study With Me?
No, I didn't watch any live streams. No.
There used to be live streams. There might still be there'd be kind of a point system. So every minute you're in the live stream, you'd get points or whatever. And it was just cool because it was somewhat interactive. Although I think a lot of the video was looped, so the person might not be studying live, but the chat was live.
Nice.
I wish I could make money just being paid to record myself studying.
One viral video, which with how the algorithm works, if people are already watching Study With Me's, I wonder if people watch the same ones or if they'll watch new ones. Because the algorithm, you'd show up on the side, But I guess that depends on how many people look at views. So it's like if you don't have like over 100K in views or something, do people?
Yeah, well, I don't know if like the viewer cares, but the algorithm would certainly care. Like there's probably a lot of other videos that would be way higher up in its like list of things that you'd probably want to click on. So like that would
Unless
recommend.
people did like a most recent to like try to find like new ones.
Does like anyone do most recent though?
Only when I'm looking for something that happened that day. So I guess not, probably. For like that kind of thing.
Yeah. See, like I forget that it's even there.
I do it a lot for like songs or like videos. Whenever I look up drama, I'll always go most recent. So it's a good way to find.
Well, especially with some of these problematic people, because they have so much drama. If you just search their name in drama, like you will never find the stuff that happened today.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
it'll be behind, underneath all the other stuff they've done.
So it's like I have to.
Well, speaking of fresh
all the
drama, I have some interesting relationships or crush drama.
Ooh, crush drama. Go. Yes. Okay. Go.
So I just got back from my trip in Colorado, and while we were there, I participated in this like run event because my mom's part of this running group, and there's this young guy there. And after many beers or whatever, we were in the hot tub together. And I just had the most interesting conversation with him because he started out as, you're so hot, I would totally fuck you, but like a year ago. Because like I'm straight now, I fuck girls, but like a year ago, like I would totally fuck you, and like you're so hot, and I would kiss you, and then he actually did like kiss me, and then like I'm just like, okay, that doesn't really make sense to me.
No,
like we're all on our own like journey sexuality, and like I don't want to like question his, but it's kind of just like weird that you went from like dating guys and girls and fucking guys and girls to being straight.
Right.
I guess the most annoying thing was like the next day I just found myself thinking about him over and over and over again. And I did get his phone number, and I'm like, should I text him? Should I not text him? And I ended up texting him and talked for a little bit. It didn't ever really go anywhere. It was just kind of like, oh, nice. Well, I heard because his mom came over to pick up stuff she left, and she said that he was kind of puking the next day. So I'm like, oh, I heard he had kind of a rough morning. And so we talked about that. I'm like, oh, I did my puking last night. It's AIDS in the recovery. I'm a big puke before bed person.
I feel that. I'm definitely the same way. Because I'll wake up super early in the morning if I don't. I hate it. I hate the morning after.
Yeah. Well, I think if you like puke before you go to bed, then like you stop absorbing more alcohol. So you start sobering up earlier. So it's just like way easier. Anyways, so I ended up having... I ended up having this crush on this straight and like air quotes guy. And it's like, which I think are just like the most frustrating crushes ever, just because.
Oh yeah.
You're having a crush on like a guy. Yes, he was attractive, but like nothing will ever come of it. At least that's what he said.
I hate that unrequited crush, or those crushes that you can't do anything about. I have a handful of those, and I'm like, oh, you're great, but nothing will ever happen in this, and you hate it. But I love that feeling, like the feeling of having a crush.
Oh, I hate that feeling. Great.
Oh.
Well, I guess it depends. Like with that, I was just like, I hate that I'm like, I have this feeling for him. Because like, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to be like satisfying for me.
Yeah, it's not like a fun fling or anything that you were able to like, because like, aside from the whole straight thing, like if he wasn't straight,
he's still in Colorado, and he's still going into military, so there's like 3 fucking strikes against him.
Yeah, so even without the thing that kind of makes it a hard no, kind of, because he used to not be straight, but people explore, people try new things, and It's just funny because it's not like he tried it a year ago and was like, oh yeah, it's not for me, when then he meets you and he's like, oh yeah, I'm into you, but I'm straight. It's like, you can label yourself however you want to label yourself, but if you look like a duck and quack like a duck.
Yeah. Well, and what's also funny is like my behavior when I'm drunk. It seems like as soon as I become intoxicated, I become like a little therapist. So what I became focused on was like, oh, it seems like he's repressing his queer self. So what I focus on is like, you need to make sure you're not like repressing yourself. It's like, you know, you need to preserve your queerness, and you know, don't let the military or society tell you, you know, just because you're 99% gay or 99% straight, that you should ignore that 1% because, you know, that's who you are. And
oh, for sure.
You know, I just become a little therapist, which is quite enjoyable.
Well, yeah, and that's really good insight for like men who do like both genders, or like all genders, or wherever on the spectrum. I feel like it can be a lot more isolating for men than sometimes it is for women. Like bisexuality is already, it's like in general, like being bisexual or pansexual or any other sexuality other than like the black or white, people can be very judgmental about it. And I feel like for men it can be even worse because it's a little more normalized, I think, for women.
Yeah, I think society is more tolerant towards like women being like curious and bisexual than like men right now, especially people who fall like closer to being straight on like the Kensington scale than like queer. So like they're like mostly straight, but they're still not 100%. So it's like, you know, those people, I think with men, they try to like ignore like that part of themselves. So I'm just like, don't, like,
for sure.
Why deny yourself something that you're interested in?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you like who you like and you just go with it. Because I have a friend who he's bisexual and his partner right now, like his long-term partner, is a man, and they've been together for a very long time, which feels weird. But I remember when he like first came out, which admit was like 5 years ago now, so I guess a lot can change. Like when he told us, and like when he told me, we were talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, you have to, like, you like who you like, it doesn't matter. But he was talking about some of his other friends, and a lot of his female friends were like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you're just gay and you're denying it. And things like that. Cool. And he's just like, I'm not. He's like, I know I also like women, but here I am, and it can be hard. And now he's like in a gay relationship, so it's just like,
yeah, I think society is not easy on bi people because we love boxes. Like, yes, we love putting people in boxes. We like putting ourselves in boxes, and we love labels.
Which is,
boxes have labels.
And is such a problem I see in like people my age that people are now realizing, because when Tumblr was big and being like a middle schooler in the mid to late 2000s.
You know, I feel bad for the youngins growing up today because they don't have Tumblr to like, you know, be angsty and, you know, question everything on. And
yeah, but everything was so like, you have to label yourself this and that, and if you don't, well, what are you this way or that way? And so many people, it's like you have this very long list of what you are, but now people can just be like, oh yeah, I'm queer, and it's like, that works, you know?
Okay, I guess you are right. I think that Tumblr was very like label oriented, but it seems like they were very like LGBTQ friendly, which which I think was very nice for that time period, especially like in middle school and stuff.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's like people know that they're in there, but then there's like the biphobia and things that go with that and everything, which is so, there's so many layers to it all that I am not the correct person to necessarily be speaking on behalf, because my label is very boring. I'm a stress. Okay, can I talk? I am a straight cis woman, so it's like I got nothing.
What about cis? Do you have a cis somewhere?
Not anymore, no. Just a cis straight woman who is just a big ally. I'm just like, oh. Yeah. Well, and I have a friend who, like, her son is has come out as like bi and like has really liked the idea of wearing dresses and makeup and things like that. And she was trying, we were talking about it, and she was talking about her dad, who is a little more conservative and everything. And she's like, you know, he has this gay, bisexual, like she just like kept stuttering over what to like label her own son. I'm like, he's queer. He has a queer grandson and he has to be okay with that. And she's like, yeah. That's it. Like, I'm so glad that queer is a word that can reclaimed, be utilized. Yeah, reclaimed and used, because it's so great to have like that kind of umbrella term for people.
It really is. And this is actually something I kind of like brought up with him, is like, I feel like our desire to label things kind of comes down to like our uncomfortableness with like the unknown. Which, you know, as a philosophy major, I think like that also pops up kind of like in religion and questions over like idealism versus materialism, because there's all these things where we don't know 100%.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are uncomfortable with like leaving that fraction like unexplained. So they try to explain it with one theory. It might be like they keep the 99% and just expand it to 100, or maybe they put in something new that's like an exception for the 1%. Just like, we don't know. Why are you trying to put something there that we don't know yet?
Exactly. Well, and that's just it.
And I think,
sorry.
Oh no, I'm done. It's just, you know, I think we're uncomfortable with not having answers.
Correct. Yeah. And that's a huge part of life and society, and sparks my philosophy brain, but also my sociology brain when it comes to how people feel about others. Because it's everyone's an other. Anyone who doesn't fit the same label as you, or someone who's grown up differently than you, is the other. And we're all uncomfortable with that. And we've grown to fear the other, or instinctually we fear the other, and then it's undoing that and learning that you don't have to fear people that aren't like you, and that you can learn from them and grow from them and no longer have the other be a thing, because we're all one. That's a little cheesy. That was really fucking cheesy.
We are all one.
We are all
Why can't we just be kind and hold hands together all the time?
Exactly. But
yeah, okay. Yeah. You got a little excited there on your soapbox.
I did. That's something I really care about, is the acknowledgement and understanding that we want to label everything, but we don't have to, in more umbrella terms, and letting people speak their own story is more important than like allowing that and listening to that and growing from that and not judging is just so important. But there's a lot of things that are unknown, and people try to find anything to explain it, which we want that comfort and everything. It's why I love astrology.
Are you ready to talk about the stars and planets?
The stars align.
So, you know, ever since, let's see, Sunday, I guess I've just been pissed at the stars for fucking up my romance. Is that what's going on right now? Because I feel like they're playing with my emotional side.
There is a lot of aggression that's kind of been ending this last week. So the moon has been in Aries, which is just fire and aggression, and a lot of people have been having like low fuses, high temperaments, things like that. And that just changed over, or is changing over, either last night or tonight, into Taurus, which is going to push us to caring for ourselves and being like, I need a break. Like, there's just a lot going on. The heightened aggression and everything is going to fade away. And a big part of that goes in with the asteroid Ceres. I was trying to see if it was a hard C or a soft C. I think it's a soft C.
See, she's not a professional astrologer yet.
I'm not too professional, and there's a lot of things that you only read. You don't hear people say, so then you have to like try to figure it out yourself, which just makes you feel stupid. But that's going in, is going into conjunct with Neptune and Pisces, which, as the stars say, is going to push us into like investing in others. So it's kind of putting everyone into this more like caring role and looking out for things instead of kind of focusing within. So we'll be pushing for more self-care and actually like slowing down our lives, but also looking to invest with others. I did pull up your horoscope.
Oh, we love a good horoscope.
I looked at it for love. I looked at both of ours for love because we are single Pringles with a life of love around us. And for you, it noted intensity in your like romantic life and need or time to invest again. So you're being like pushed to invest in others or like invest time into romance. So it could be a good time to start, you know, looking for a man.
All the options in small town Wisconsin. I don't know which one I'm going to pick.
I don't know. I was going to be like the guy at the grocery store, but that used to be you.
Jim? So. We're fucking Jim now? We're dating Jim?
Exactly. Mine said I was at my breaking point and it's time to divest in the relationships I've been in.
Like, how dare they read you like that?
Yeah, I'm like, wow, okay, so Cooper has to like invest in a relationship and really, you know,
they need to like
dive
step
in
back
and be open. And for me, it's like time to close down. I was like, fair. I mean, I haven't been too heavy lately. I was dating a lot in like November, like October, November, which usually happens for me. Like I'm just constantly going on dates or seeing guys or whatever, and then I slow down and I started talking to the guy who I'm, I guess, mostly seeing in like December, and it's been fine. He hasn't like we've kind of just like, for lack of a better term, divested lately. And he's just, we're not talking as much. He's not as responsive, and I'm just like, nah. I'm into him enough, but I'm not like, it's not as hot and heavy as I like men to be. But he's busy. I like texting all day. I like guys who will text me throughout the day and that like I can text throughout the day and things like that. But this is a guy who I'm like mostly interested in. He's one of the first guys who I've been mostly interested in and I haven't talked to every single day, which I find interesting. But yeah, no, I really need to divest because the last guy I matched with on Bumble who I had talked to, we were talking. I was like, ooh, I really liked him. Respiratory therapist. I'm like, ooh, look at you. So like grounded, really cute, had a good beard. And we were talking and we're in the middle of talking and he unmatched me.
Oh, that's rough.
I was showing his profile to someone because I was like, I was laughing at like a joke he just said. And I was at work and my boss was like, oh, what are you laughing at? I'm like, oh, this guy. And I was like, isn't he cute? And she was like, oh yeah, da da da. And then I was like messaging him and then it said wouldn't send. And I was like, what's going on? And then he had unmatched me. And I was like, really?
See, I don't have that problem.
No, men love Cooper.
Yeah, I'm always the one like that ghost people. I'm just like, okay, I'm over this.
It happens to the best of us. I definitely have, but then I have some guys in the rotation that I'm like, you need to go away. And they're like so into me. And I'm just, no, thank you.
I can think of like a couple guys that just like stop being interested in me. I'm just like very salty about that. It's just like, why did this end? Like, I never got a good answer. And I'm just like, I want a good answer.
Getting an answer, like you think it's going to be closure, but it's not. Like you don't feel better after it.
I have like one guy, he blocked me on Snapchat. And I feel like it's because like, I don't know, he was just like too turned on by me or something. That's the answer I've given in my head.
I mean,
and it seemed to fit.
I've definitely heard that said about you.
Please. No, you haven't.
That's all the tea I'm given.
Anyway, so it's just kind of like, you know, I'm okay with this unrational explanation that I, you know, have in my head for like make myself feel better. But anyways, if you want to learn about the band guy who blocked me on Snapchat, because he was too turned on by me. Stay tuned.
Yes, it's coming. Oh man, that's so funny.
Anyways, fuck the stars. They're always fucking up our life.
Fuck the stars, yeah.
Fuck the stars.
Yeah. We both literally have to change how we look at romance. Like we need to switch roles in romantic relationships.
Yeah, I'll just be texting you just like, Sabrina, how do I do this?
How do I show emotion?
Yeah. I'm a Virgo. How does this work? What steps do I take to show emotion?
Yeah. Can I get the 8-step plan, please?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I think we hit everything I wanted to talk about.
We didn't do like the good advice.
Yeah, we need the Yahoo answers.
We need to, what are we calling it?
Our fucked up answers to your dumb questions.
Something like that. It's a name in progress. Okay, so I scoured Yahoo Answers.
Yeah.
And under pets subcategory horses, Justin asked, do you believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is taking advantage of the fact that they're black?
Why is it in pets? That is insane. I know. I was like, okay, is this going to be about my cat? No.
Nope.
No.
I don't know. I just find that even more amusing. So that's why I included that.
It's not taking advantage when it's like when it's the system we're in is making that a factor. Because we see it all the time. Like white people are treated differently by police officers than black people and other people of color. I feel like I'm proof of that in any instance I've had with police. I know other people, like other white people who have like very similar stories to mine versus like all the stories of black people. And even the raid on the Capitol, like there's no way that BLM would have been able to do that.
No. And I just think the wording's interesting. Do you think that they're taking advantage of the fact that they are black? So I think that in that you kind of see that they're worried about fairness, and then that they're worried about colored people, or because we talk about the other, because I'm assuming they're white. They're worried about like black indigenous people of color, like taking what's theirs, or taking advantage, or being unfair and taking something they shouldn't.
Exactly, and
so I think it's just white supremacists. And
nonsense.
I don't know why it's under horses, but
yeah, no, because that's a hill to freaking die on, calling that like an advantage. And it's like, how are you taking advantage of something that's proven in society to be a disadvantage in your life? Like, not a bad thing. Like, there's not, but like they're like being born black is harder than being born white, and like there's studies and proof throughout all classes and systems and everything. So it's like trying to spin it into making the conversation not you're an idiot by thinking that they are in any way profiting or doing better due to this movement just because they're black. And it's like, no, this movement has to happen to make their lives better, to make it safer. Nobody should be murdered in their home by police officers.
Oh, like, did you see like the one where they like handcuff like a naked woman?
Yes.
It's just like, I don't know like why it's so hard for some people to just be like, it doesn't need to happen to me for me to recognize that it's unacceptable.
Exactly. It's horrible.
Like if some of the stuff like happened to them, they'd be like, oh my gosh, that's tragic that it's unacceptable that they entered my friend or like my apartment and killed my roommate, or they killed my girlfriend or boyfriend or my wife, my spouse, whatever. It's just like, it shouldn't have to happen for you to realize like, oh my gosh, that's unacceptable. But they are unable to do that. And I think it's just like empathy. It's just like they just aren't able to empathize with people they don't. Yeah. Well, here's another question, and I think you might be interested in it. It's like, my friend did not let me pay for her coffee. Is she not interested in me being a potential date? And I just think it's interesting because it's sometimes Sabrina tries to buy like my coffee, and I always get like weirded out by that.
He hates that I buy his coffee.
I just like being a financial independent woman.
I think what I love about it is like my friend rejected my offer to buy her coffee. Does she not want to date me? I'm like,
it's like, does she not want to fuck? What is
like,
this?
First of all, buying someone coffee in no way shows romantic interest or desire. As someone who, as Cooper has pointed out, buys coffee for a lot of people a lot of the time, because I like earning the points and it's easier, and I would rather pay. No, she doesn't want to fuck you because you're asking this kind of stupid ass question.
Yeah, she doesn't want to date you because you're stupid. And I don't know, you're misogynist. It's just like
maybe you were talking about how broke you are earlier, so she was like, he can't afford my coffee, thank you, next.
Yeah, well, I kind of like a different question just to myself. Do you like it when people like buy you, or like you're like on a date, do you like it when a guy like buys you dinner?
100%.
Yeah, see, I like it in concept, but I don't like it in practice. It was kind of like, oh, thanks. I just get like awkward, and it's just like, sometimes I'll make a joke like where like I'll go on a date and like I can tell that they want to pay for it, so like I'll like try to like say separate like really quickly, and then like just like when they ask, and then like if they ask, I'm like, oh, I didn't want to pay for your food, and let's kind of like ignore that they want to pay for mine. So it's like, I'm not gonna pay for your food.
You also just say separate really fast at restaurants.
Yeah, separate.
Because I do not care. I'll be like, we can figure it out later. I don't like, it's like, we can figure it out. I'll pay, you pay. And I have no preference. When I'm on a date though, I do prefer the man to pay. That's one of the things I don't like about coffee dates. Because if they get there, like if I get there before them, I'll buy my own cup of coffee. And I'm like, this is annoying.
Oh, I do that all the time. It's like, I'm not going to sit here without a coffee for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Like,
but then I always feel awkward because they're like, oh, you got your coffee. And I was like, yeah, I got, like, I'm not going to wait for you to have coffee. Like, but it is definitely a ding. I like a man who pays.
I like a man who likes money or has money and like is, you know, successful.
Same.
I'm not always great at accepting, you know, gifts.
Correct.
I see an interesting question just because it's dumb. It's like, since Kamala Harris left her Senate seat to become VP, the Republicans will have a 50-49 voting edge. How long before a replacement senator?
They were replaced yesterday.
Yeah. That was like the first thing they did.
Yeah, she swore in her replacement along with Ossoff and Warnock.
The two, yeah. See, it's like funny that these people like in politics, it's like, that's kind of like a good question, but it's like a week late.
Yeah, it's like we already know the answer to that. Like a smarter question is, oh, who is going to replace Kamala Harris in the Senate? And then that could open up the like idea of what that question was trying to lead to, was like, oh, well, actually, it's going to take months to find a replacement. So we'll actually only have 99 senators for, 3 months and whatever that looks like, which, again, is not true, but is kind of what they wanted the answer to be, but isn't the answer. So you just look stupid.
Well, it's like, I don't know where you get your news sources, because, like, I think even on Twitter, like, they said, like, the first thing Kamala did was, like, swear in the 3 senators.
It did take me a moment, because they kept saying, oh, the 3 new senators. And I'm like, why are there 3? Like, I didn't know why there were 3. And then I was like, oh, right. Yeah, because Kamala's replacement.
There's a guy I follow on Twitter. I think his name's Kyle Griffin. He's like a reporter, and he's always like tweeting like basically live, like all this stuff that's going on, and like sharing articles. So like I saw with him, it's like, oh, Kamala just swore in like, the 3 senators.
But again, it's leading like such stupid questions. Like even like the BLM question from earlier. It's like, why are you asking questions like this? This is not a good question, and you just look stupid.
A lot of Yahoo questions are seem like political these days. Like I saw one where it's like, after the White House, is Trump going to the big house?
I hope so. But no, he went to Florida, which I was listening to something and they vaguely mentioned that like that's not allowed, and I was really confused, but I haven't looked further into it. Like there's some type of rule or something that like past presidents can't like retire to Florida. I have no idea. That could 100% be false. I have no idea what it is, but like I heard that
Florida is banning presidents.
I don't know what it is.
That just seems ridiculous.
That, like, no. I was at work, so I didn't Google it, but I heard it. I was like, that's so weird. What do you mean he's not technically allowed to retire to Florida?
Here, let's see what Google says. Yeah, I don't see anything about past presidents being banned from Florida.
He moved to Florida in 2019.
Trump did, like, legally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that because, like, when they were doing the Electoral College and, like, saying, like, Donald J. Trump of whatever Florida could receive X amount of votes from, you know, whatever state. And I was expecting to be New York because, like, he's kind of, like, famously a New Yorker. But no, he's legally lives in Florida now.
He switched residency November 1st, 2019. State income tax. They don't have state income tax.
Nice. I think Arizona and Texas, I think they have income.
Yeah, Texas doesn't either. Yeah. And Arizona. And Nevada. Yeah, I was listening to MSNBC for the inauguration, and I think somebody made a comment about Trump moving to Florida and something about it not being allowed. And I was like, what? But I didn't look into it. So maybe they were joking. I don't know. I don't care. That's the tea, sis.
Okay. Are you ready to wrap this up?
Wrap it up, baby. Safe and secure.
To support the podcast, join our Patreon through the link in the show notes.
If you want to share your thoughts and opinions on today's topics, connect with us on social media.
Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time. So the see ya.
What?
You said see ya, but we're not going to see these people.
Oh, sorry.
Ooh.
Come at me.
Every day.